our audience, and I am going to try and do that by asking some tough questions to Mr. Garg here. We're very proud of this book that we published last year. It is a big book, and it just shows the kind of knowledge, research, and persistence that Mr. Garg has shown and put it into this book. Extremely knowledgeable and something that we must read to understand what's going on with the economy right now. And which is what I want to start with. To start with, I did want to ask you, Mr. Garg, what do you think about the state of the economy currently? How is it going? Do you think the government has done enough, or is there, something missing in what's happening currently?
See, as I just mentioned there, if you look at the last 4 years' performance, on account of that big contraction in 2021, our performance in last 4 years has been suboptimal. We've grown only at about 3% on average. If we do 7%, which is optimistic for the next year, even then we'll be doing 5 years growth of only about 4%. But that's
there were huge promises, right? I think we're always looking 8%, almost 10% growth. So what went wrong? Where did we go wrong?
In dollar terms, unless you grow on an average at 11% a year, you can't reach 10 trillion by 2035-26. You can't reach 5 trillion by 26-27. That's the kind of ask. And we had also seen dollar depreciation this year of the order of about 10 to 11%. And that made our nominal growth, which is otherwise very high at 15-16%, to be only about 5% this year as well, 5 to 6%. So what is being done right, what is being done wrong by the government? I think government has lots of good policy programs, especially in the first term. So there were taxation reforms, there were insolvency reforms. This time there's been more of programs on the manufacturing side, the PLIs of the world, but there is a turn towards a bit of populism, a bit of redistribution agenda rather than the economic reforms. The promise of privatization is also becoming weak. So my sense is that perhaps as we are coming closer to the election in 2024, hard core reforms which are required may not happen, and the agenda will have to be reset when the new government comes.
So what are these key sectors, particularly where we need reforms, like you mentioned, to touch a higher growth rate?
See, we have two kinds of agenda in my judgment. Number one, for the sectors which are already there, which are the big ones, so agriculture as well as industry. So in agriculture, to my mind, we have made the agriculture, Indian agriculture, so much dependent on the government support. So you have subsidy on input for almost everything, whether it's fertilizer, power, seeds, anything you take it, the farmer's economic is depending so much on what comes from the government on the input subsidy side. Likewise, we have made the market in the agricultural side very weak, with everything, especially the cereals and all, the wheat rice is procured by the government at the MSP prices. So on agriculture, to my mind, what we need to do, by the way, agricultural potential, the value addition in which the agriculture does, there is a chapter in the book where per hectare value addition in agriculture compared to the industry is only 1 by 200. So you need to put more of land under industrialization and that kind of thing, urbanization, to get more value out of your land resources. So agriculture requires enormous change. industry, I think we have a very large agenda of privatization, incomplete. The government is not a good businessman at all. The government is not a good industrialist. Government's job is to govern and deliver public goods and services. That's what the government is good at. Government is a very poor entrepreneur, but we still have a very large public sector. Look at what is there in our power sector. We have massive problem in our power sector. The sector returns about 30% of losses every year. The availability of power in the industry is at a very high cost. Our transition to the renewables, etc., is much lower despite the targets and all. So on the industrial side also there is an existing several reforms which we need to do. But to me, the value addition or the leadership in growth is actually taken in the areas which are emerging now. And as I mentioned in my remarks, the three big areas where the big opportunities are is in the digitalization of the digital side. You have to go get your chip right, that is the hardware, you get your coding right, you get your services, platforms. That digital economy is the future of the economic growth, if we can get that right. Likewise, environment side, the circular economy, efficient processing of every material, reduced requirement of the metals and that kind of thing. Energy transition, enormous amount of cleaning which we need to do to make the quality of life better. Delhi, we are sitting very close to Delhi. The kind of AQI and
I think I read a report today which said Delhi is the most polluted city in India.
It is. It's so unfortunate that world's 15 to 16 out of the top 20 most polluted countries have to. We have to clean it up. There is big reforms which are required. You can't carry on with
So what is stopping us? I think the government did try to make some reforms in the agriculture sector and then pull back a bit. So what do you think is really stopping the government from making some concrete changes or taking some strict steps?
So my sense is you're referring to that farm laws, AS,
reforms,
which the government brought 3 laws and then had to withdraw. And other reforms, measures like labor laws, those have also not been executed. I refer to the privatization of banks, etc. That has also not been executed. So there is a sense of hard reforms not being attempted. And your question is why this is so. See, there is, I think the ability, and all session, listening and then explaining. And in politics there is this conflict of what is right for the economy and what is right for the politics. Many times, in many ways, those converge, but may converge in the longer term. In the short term, they might be seen as conflicting each other. If the government is not able to get over that dilemma of what may appear to be short term, and or may not be able to explain the benefit to the people or carry on with that with them, then it may not reform. There is a chapter in the book about the lessons learned in 75 years, and it so happens, I don't know, but we need to go into a little more research into it. We have had 3 strongest and most popular leaders, Jawaharlal Nehru, Indira Gandhi, and now Modi. They're most popular, but their economic record has not been that great. None of them. Indira Gandhi's track record in sort of nationalizing banks and rent control laws or monopolies, which killed industry. Though she did well on the agricultural side, because that was where the crisis was. Nehru I mentioned already, and in the current term also, I don't find the hard reforms actually being taken up. So why does it happen? Those with the strongest potential to carry the people along on economy may not. Maybe this is that conflict that in economy you can't expect the short-term easy kind of result. You will have to wait, and that leadership to sort of try to keep people along with you in a setup in which we have a fractious kind of democracy which we have, where what feels good today becomes more important than what may do good to you in times.
No, absolutely. And while India is changing fast, and I think we heard that in a previous session also, it's not easy to change, I think laws and make reforms in a country like India. I think for the politicians as well, I think it's important to take people along, create a mandate so that, these things also can be executed properly, through the system. And in a country like India, we are a democracy and we also have to work with people. Politicians also worry about elections. And we have an upcoming general elections also. So what do you expect to see in, the upcoming budget? I think for our audience here today also, with your knowledge and experience, I do want you to share some insights into, what can we expect in the next budget.
There is one more factor before I come to the budget about sometimes there can be a curse of incumbency. We did fabulously well during the agricultural age. We were one of the most advanced countries. 200 years back, 25% of the global GDP was in India. Today we have only 3%. Because the natural resources were right, the climate, everything, and our people were so innovative. But what happens when you have done so well in a certain kind of great setup, you tend to believe that that's the only right way to do it. And if something else comes up, someone else comes up with a technology, and the technology of industrial revolution which was doing better, we tend to think that no, that's a short-term phenomenon, it will not succeed. Remember the fascination for the Belgadi vis-a-vis the motor cars, or the fascination for charkha vis-a-vis the cotton mills. All that mindset was actually the indicative of the fact that we were either too proud of our legacy and we didn't see the potential for that. That opportunity comes again, like in the digital situation, that opportunity is coming again. Again, if we don't see the advantage of or the competitiveness of the incoming thing, then we'll perhaps miss out. So I think we'll have to get over that our past was the greatest and we'll continue to have reflection of that past for forever. That's not the world changes and it puts you behind. Now coming to the budget question, this is the last budget of the current term of the government, and as I was mentioning earlier, the appetite for the hard reforms is not there. There is also a big challenge in the budget situation. We are running very high fiscal deficits of over 6%. That's very high. Fiscal deficit is nothing but taking loans which need to be repaid. You pay more interest on that, so that's not in good health of the country. So you are stressed on the fiscal side. Your expenditures have gone up. Your fertilizer subsidies have gone up. Your the food subsidies have gone up. There's been also on the petroleum side some concern. So our fiscal bill or expenditure bill has gone up. Fortunately, this year the taxation has also been doing well so far. We might be able to make up for the extra expenditure from the extra taxes revenues. We have not done well on disinvestment. There will be some shortfall. So the chances of any major shift, either in terms of fiscal consolidation or in terms of making a very large reform shift because is not there. So I see the next year budget to be more of a continuum of the difficult fiscal math which we have had in this year to continue for the next year.
I did want to ask you about the Ukraine war as well. Do you think it has had an impact on our economy, and if so, how and how much?
See, Ukraine-Russian conflict was a mixed bag for us. It's not a total loss. We fortunately were able to buy much cheaper crude oil from Russia thanks to the fact that the Russian crude was not being bought by a lot of other people. Likewise, we initially had an opportunity to sell our wheat at much higher prices because there was a global crisis of wheat. But we also had negative consequences of that. The fertilizer prices went up because the supply of fertilizer constituents by Ukraine had created a problem. We also had some price increase on the agricultural product side because of the fact that is there. And we are still continuing to have the effect on the gas side. The disruption caused in the gas economy globally is still not fully done. Europe faced it in the worst way because there was their gas supplies were cut. Sometimes fortuitously things happen. This time they don't have a very cold winter, so consequently the gas demands have come down. So in all, taking both pluses and minuses together, I don't think we were very worse off, but did reasonably well to take care of it.
No, I think we did come out, better than expected, I think. The fears were more. Now, to also talk about the elephant in the room, literally, and we have this big, amazing book that I'm recommending again. Do you think India can still reach this dream, or will it only be a dream? The 10 children economy, and when and how do you think we can achieve it?
See, it's quite ironic in a way. If you go back to 1978, India and China were almost in the same way. And both of them were very poor, low-income countries. The big countries with very large populations, but very, very poor economies. We have done well, but not so well, to reach to this level of $3.5 trillion. China has done economically very well. We can talk about political liberties and other sides differently. But economically they have done well, 16 trillion, they're 5 times our economy today. What it tells you that it can be done. So in 40 years, if you can go from $500 billion economy to $16 trillion economy, what is what China has done, you can also do make it a 5 times economy, which is, let's say, 15 trillion, and then dollar depreciation also takes place, so it might become a bigger one. So it's not a question of here growth of 4, 5% or 6% will also take you to that level. So if I see the current kind of situation or the economic play out or the reforms agenda, if the change in policy doesn't happen, to seize the advantage of new 3 big economic transformations which I mentioned, and also to get our agriculture industry right, we'll probably take much longer. We'll grow only at about 5% or 6% on an average. But if we can get this right, we can definitely hope to grow by 10%. And that can make difference in 10 trillions of about 10 to 15 years. That is the kind of implications of what, whether you get the things right or not.
All right, so we all hope that we reach there sooner than we imagined. Our time is up. I think that the screen says, can we take a few questions?
Yes.
All right,
Mr. Garg,
yes.
You've been the finance secretary you know how the government works, you've seen previous governments, current governments. What is your view on the, I mean, I shouldn't be talking of haircuts, but haircuts in the insolvency process?
Essentially,
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
5% they are paying,
no, that's why
proxies are buying.
I'm coming to that. See, you need to get somebody who has got it wrong out of the scene to make it work for that particular case. But over the last few years, this is perhaps getting gained, where the losses are becoming so large that 5% or 10% recovery, 90%, 95% haircuts is ridiculous, right? That's the kind of situation we are coming to. I'm more worried about a willing acceptance of the situation that this is what the value left and you can't manage it. So it's turning into a failure unless we again sort of shake it up to make this, to catch the insolvent very early and decide it fast and not allow pernicious incentives to get through the cracks. I think we will see poor results come.
And you know, I believe every media company should do well. I read your piece you wrote for Fortune on the budget, on the tax, you know, income tax, you know, kind of base getting enlarged in every, so what, the budget is about 20 days away. Apart from that, what are your recommendations? What do you work with the finance minister, you know?
See, that's a very difficult, by the way, I am doing a book now on the budget. So I hope to come up with my commentary on budget in the month of March for the budget 23-24. So you will have a lot of, that will all, it will not be as big, but this will be also a fairly large book. Recommendations to finance minister doesn't make any sense. They are deciding according to the situation they see and the constraints which I mentioned. And so what I do is to see what's likely to happen. Making recommendation, like my recommendation is to go for a very large privatization program. But that's not going to happen. That's not the case. I see this budget to be a very insipid, very sort of carry on, kind of safe budget. You would see a little bit of fiscal consolidation, but that's small. No sort of populist expenditure programs being sort of cut, unlikely. You would see some of the capital expenditure program, which is the high USP, being increased something. On taxation side, this is being the last, maybe there is some kind of tax relief to the, though you know you can't afford this, though it's justified. So there are more of a carry-on routine kind of budget is what my expectation is to be.
All right. Any more questions? Please pass.
Due to the paucity of time, I believe this would be the last question that we will take.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Sir, I have been a student of direct taxes for a quarter of a century. I've been teaching direct taxes to CA students for more than 20 years. I've been following all the budgets, and we have been hearing about direct taxes reforms for the last 2 decades or more than that. Can we ever have announcement that direct taxes are abolished? Have you ever been as advisor advised the government of India to abolish direct taxes? I always feel this will help the economy. Thank you.
See, I think this is a very big question, but my short answer, considering the time, the idea of abolishing direct taxes is not at all sound. The direct taxes are the means to bring progressivity in the redistribution of income is attempted only through the income taxes. There is no reason why the higher income people should not be taxed at higher rates, and you use those resources to do the redistribution for the poor. I don't wish it is ever accepted, this kind of a recommendation, but we can have more offline discussion in case you wish. Thank you.